Welcome back to Crime Scene 24/7. To our returning subscribers, thank you for always engaging. Your likes, comments, and shares keeps us motivated. And if this is your first time here, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our chilling crime scenes. Here, we dig deep, we investigate hard, and we bring you stories the mainstream left unsaid. So encourage us by engaging in our videos. Subscribe if you haven't, like, comment, and share. She drove to the house where she once called home, and that night changed everything forever. Tonight, we trace the story of Mia Bailey, a name that echoes through the halls of the Utah justice system, but more importantly, haunts a shattered family. On June 18, 2024, in the home of her parents Joseph Bailey and Gail Bailey, she pulled the trigger. Police later charged her with 2 counts of aggravated murder, 1 count of attempted aggravated murder, 7 counts of felony discharge of a firearm, and 1 count of aggravated burglary. She walked in through an unlocked front door. Without warning, she opened fire on her mother. Her father heard the shots and moved toward her. She fired again. In her own words to investigators, she returned, ensured her father was dead with a final shot to the head, then walked to her mother and shot her in the head to make sure she was dead. Moments later, she headed downstairs to where her brother and his wife had locked themselves in a bedroom after the gunshots. She fired around through the door. Though no one in that room was physically hit, the intent was chilling. She said her brother was not the main target, but she would not have been sad if the gunshot killed him. What followed was a manhunt lasting hours. Residents of Washington City and St. George, Utah were alerted, urged to shelter in place. Eventually, she was found and taken into custody early on June 19 near the St. George Temple. From the outset, Mia's admissions were stark. "I would do it again. I hate them." Those words echoed in court documents and media briefings. In 2023, Mia legally changed her name and gender marker, having previously been known as Colin Troy Bailey. And now, on November 6, 2025, she accepted a plea deal. She pleaded guilty and mentally ill to 2 counts of aggravated murder and 1 count of aggravated assault, an amended version of the charges. The sentencing is set for December 19. Tonight, we pull back the layers of this tragedy, the familial relationships, the warning signs, and the moment that changed every life in the Bailey family. We ask, how did a daughter become a killer? How long did the tension build? And what will justice mean for the parents, the siblings, the community left behind? Join us as we walk through the timeline, the court filings, the pain of the surviving siblings, and the plea that closed one chapter, though many questions remain. In the weeks preceding June 18, 2024, fragments of tension began to surface around the family home on East Chinook Drive in Washington City, Utah, where Gail Bailey and Joseph Bailey lived with their son and daughter-in-law. Family members later told investigators they were afraid of their sibling, later identified as Mia Bailey, 28, at the time of the alleged killings. Court records reveal that on July 18, 2023, a temporary protective order was filed against Mia at the request of her brother, Corson David Bailey, citing erratic behavior and concern for the family's safety. During hearings in August and October of that year, the siblings and their mother attempted to craft a personal conduct agreement so Mia could visit, but underlying friction went unresolved. Then came that evening of Tuesday, June 18th. According to probable cause statements, shortly after 7 p.m., the brother ran from upstairs after hearing gunfire and called 911 from a neighbor's house. Police arrived to find the front door partially open and multiple shell casings near the stairs and foyer. Upstairs, they located Gail in the first-floor living room and Joseph in the hallway near the master bedroom. Gail had been shot 4 times, Joseph twice, including a final fatal shot to the head to make sure he was dead, according to Mia's own admission. After the killings, Mia walked to the basement where her brother and his wife had locked themselves in a bedroom. She fired a round through the closed door, later telling investigators she was not the main target, but she would not have been sad if the shot had killed him. The manhunt that followed lasted into the early morning hours of June 19th. Authorities issued a shelter-in-place alert for residents in the Fort Pierce and Bloomington Hills areas of St. George, Utah. A helicopter, drones, and ground units scoured washes and ravines for hours. Mia was finally located near the grounds of the St. George Temple around 10:30 a.m. after she eluded capture for nearly 9 hours. On arrest and interrogation, Mia gave chilling statements. According to the affidavit, she told police, "I would do it again. I hate them." She stated she entered the residence with the intent to kill both parents and had no remorse. By her first court appearance on June 26, 2024, Mia sat inside the Washington County Jail's video feed, clad in a suicide prevention smock, her hands in a chain. The judge read 11 felony counts, 2 counts of aggravated murder, 1 count of attempted aggravated murder, 1 count of aggravated burglary, and 7 counts of felony discharge of a firearm. In parallel, media and public commentary began to swirl around Mia's legal gender change in 2023. She had legally changed her name and gender marker, and some conservative commentators in Utah drew lines between her transition and the violence, even though no official motive had ever been declared. As the case progressed, a competency evaluation was ordered in August 2025 after Mia filed notice she wished to pursue the death penalty. At that time, she was 29 years old and remained held on 9 first-degree felonies and 1 third-degree felony. Through the pain of loss, Gail and Joseph's surviving children issued a statement in November 2024 asking the public not to dwell on the gruesome details of how their parents died, but to remember how they lived, grounded in community, love, and support. Each of these threads, the protective order that signaled early unrest, the stark admissions of intent, the flight across southern Utah's terrain, and the silence of remorse, builds a framework for how this tragedy unfolded. The courtroom in St. George held a stillness that seemed to hang longer than any sentence that would follow. It was on Thursday, November 6, 2025, that Mia Bailey stepped before Judge Keith Barnes of the 5th District Court and entered a plea that would redefine everything in the case. She pleaded guilty and mentally ill to the amended charges of 2 counts of aggravated murder and 1 count of aggravated assault. No longer would the case proceed with the full assortment of 11 original felony counts. The plea agreement transformed the legal landscape. For the prosecution, represented by Jerry Yeager as Washington County Attorney, the decision had been made clear. They would not pursue the death penalty in this case. Instead, the plea opens the door for sentences of 25 years to life on each murder count and 0 to 5 years for the third-degree assault charge. What does guilty and mentally ill mean in Utah's legal framework? Investigators and legal analysts pointed out that although it falls short of a traditional insanity defense, it acknowledges that Bailey was suffering from a recognized mental condition at the time of the killings, a factor that will influence how the sentence is carried out, supervised, and what kinds of treatment may accompany incarceration. In the hearing, Judge Barnes confirmed that he had been assured by prosecutors that the victim's family was on board with the plea agreement. For the family of Joseph and Gail Bailey, and for the brother who escaped the massacre, today's plea does not erase the trauma, but it does signal the end of uncertainty about trial proceedings. Sentencing was scheduled for Friday, December 19, 2025, at 9 a.m. in the same courthouse where the crime's legal march began. As the gavel struck down on the plea, the community watched. The living room in the Bailey home, the hallway leading to a final shot, the terror in the brothers' locked bedroom door. All those details that detonated in June 2024 remain frozen in memory, and now the long path toward resolution begins. In the months following the arrests and charges, the gears of the legal system began turning more visibly in the case of Mia Bailey, and with them, the full breadth of her mental health history and the state's response came into sharp focus. By early October 2025, a judge formally determined that Bailey, now age 30, was legally competent to stand trial on the double murder charges. The competency review itself referenced a litany of mental health issues that Bailey has experienced over the years, though the public record remains limited on the specific diagnoses. With competence established, the prosecution advanced an offer of a plea deal, and by November 6, 2025, Bailey accepted. She pleaded guilty and mentally ill to 2 counts of aggravated murder and 1 count of aggravated assault. The plea was structured under Utah law to acknowledge a mental condition at the time of the offense without invoking the full legal insanity defense. Defense filings and court comments reveal that Bailey's team emphasized her long-standing mental health struggles, while prosecutors insisted the plea still permits a significant sentence. The statutory minimum for aggravated murder remains 25 years to life per count. The sentencing hearing was set for December 19, 2025. For the surviving family, the plea brought relief of sorts, the certainty of a final resolution rather than open-ended trial, but not closure of the emotional wounds. On November 7, 2024, a representative for the siblings asked the public to remember Gail and Joseph Bailey not for how they died, but for how they lived. As the case moves towards sentencing, questions abound. How will the prison system treat the mentally ill designation? Will Bailey access therapy or special housing? And what will become of the brother who escaped that night, carrying trauma beyond what legal proceedings can remedy? In the days following the formal recognition of the plea on November 6, 2025, another critical dimension of the case of Mia Bailey came into sharper relief. How the state of Utah addresses mental health evaluations, the treatment of defendants labeled mentally ill, and the ripple effects on the family left behind. Over the months preceding the plea, court filings revealed that psychological experts had been reviewing Bailey's mental state history, including prior hospitalizations, treatment records, and behavioral incidents, but medical privacy constraints limited full public disclosure. The judge's August 2025 order declaring her competent to stand trial marked the end of one phase of assessment and the beginning of the plea negotiations. With Bailey now entering a guilty and mentally ill plea, Utah's legal system must balance significant punitive measures with provisions for mental health specialized treatment while incarcerated. Prosecutors emphasized that the plea did not mean leniency or diminished responsibility. Each count of aggravated murder still holds a sentencing range of 25 years to life without the possibility of parole. Meanwhile, the surviving members of the Bailey family, brothers and other relatives, faced a second ordeal: the emotional journey from shock to grief to public scrutiny, as newsrooms published granular details of the killings and the plea deal. Some relatives stated they hoped the case would prompt better mental health intervention systems, saying that years of subtle conflict and unnoticed warning signs could have been redirected long before the gunshots rang out. In the larger context of criminal justice in Utah, the case has become a point of reference for commentary on how mental illness intersects with violent crime. How early protective orders, such as the one filed against Bailey in July 2023, play into later outcomes. How escape attempts or manhunts influence public perception, and how plea bargain structures like this one serve both legal closure and therapeutic opportunities. Now, as December 19, 2025 approaches, the scheduled sentencing date, the community watches closely. The courtroom will not only determine the length of Bailey's confinement, but also set in motion what remains of the law's promise: that even when life is destroyed, the process of reckoning and healing continues. In the quiet that follows the final gavel, we are left not with answers, but with echoes. The life of Mia Bailey, once a daughter, a sister, a person known to family and a community, has become a catalog of loss and unanswered questions. The gravestones of Joseph Bailey and Gail Bailey lie beneath a Utah sky, the home they raised their children in, now forever marked by what happened in just minutes on June 18, 2024. Tonight, on Crime Scene 24/7, we face the truth that remains, that her plea of guilty and mentally ill does not return life to the destroyed. It does not erase the terror her brother carried that night, hiding as the door trembled with a bullet's impact. It does not restore the parents' final breaths, nor the shattering of a family's foundation. But it might signal one of the few things left, a pathway towards reckoning. December 19th, 2025 will bring a sentencing, a moment when the law will speak, when consequences will materialize, when the record will show how this chapter ends. And yet, for the family, for the community, and for all of us watching, the real story does not end in the courtroom. I invite you now, subscribe to Crime Scene 24/7 and turn on notifications. Whatever destination this case takes, whichever documents surface, whichever testimony is heard, you'll be here with us as we trace every development, honor the victims, confront the trauma, and ask the hard questions that linger long after the headlines fade. Share your thoughts below. What warning signs should we have seen? How do we prevent the next tragedy hidden behind a normal-looking home? Join us in this search for understanding, for justice, and for the voices that must not be forgotten.